Okay, good afternoon and welcome to today's session. My name's Deb and I'm a member of the CQUniversity careers team. Today's session is a part of the annual CQUniversity Festival of Change, a 2-week program of events, activities, all with change making, sustainability and social innovation at its heart. This is the second and final week of the festival, and I do hope that you've had a chance to join in and engage with some of the many events that have taken place over the past fortnight. Recordings of the sessions will be made available on the Office of Social Innovation webpage and their YouTube channel. So please do make sure you check this over the coming weeks as we arrange for the recordings to be made available. To commence this session, I would like to take a moment to recognise the traditional owners of the land on which we are all located today. I'm currently in Melbourne, so I'm on Wurundjeri lands and they're part of the Kulin Nation. So please do take a moment to reflect and pay respects to the traditional owners of the lands where you're located, and pay your respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. So the aims of today's session, we're really going to be exploring a few different areas of the benefits of volunteering. We're going to have a look at some of your rights and responsibilities as a volunteer as well, looking at the types of things that you can gain from volunteering and all the benefits, how you might decide what volunteer opportunities you'd like to engage with. We're going to give a brief overview of where some of those opportunities can be found, and then we're going to also explore some skill articulation. And we do have a recent graduate from CQUniversity joining us today, and Cindy is going to talk to us about her volunteering journey and how that has helped shape her career. So let's start off with a definition, and if we go to the peak body for volunteering in Australia, that's Volunteering Australia. Volunteering is about a time willingly given for the common good and without financial gain. So it really has that sort of community involvement, well-being and feeling of having a positive impact on your local community. The types of volunteering opportunities that you can get involved with vary greatly. So there's one-off events that you can get involved in, and I'm just going to go through some of those examples that we have in Australia at the national level, so you can get a bit of an idea of whether you might like to get involved or not. So at the end of July each year, there's National Tree Day, and that's where you can get out within your local community and help revegetate some land by planting trees and native plants within a designated area. One of the things that we will explore maybe later on is Clean Up Australia Day. So that again is another one day a year annual event where people come together and pick litter, whether that's off a beach, in a park, next to a waterway, and all that kind of thing, to just pick up those bits of litter that get blown around for various reasons, to obviously help ensure that our wildlife stays safe and our plant life too. Other things that happen, look, they're coordinated at a national level, but there's different timetables of when events happen in different localities, and one of those is for the council there's Relay for Life, and there's normally a local committee who will be organising an individual event that you can get involved with as well. Other opportunities that you can get involved with in regards to fundraising are things like the Million Paws Walk, where you can take your pets for a walk and raise money for the RSPCA. There's Mother's Day Classic is another cancer research fundraising activity, and in addition to the Relay for a Life that we've got highlighted there. So these are the types of things that you can get involved in, and get involved in some of the activities that are ran as a part of those charitable and community events, as well as being involved on organising committees and things like that. So there's the one-off go to the event and participate as a fundraiser, and then there's the more ongoing activities that you can participate in on an organising committee. I've highlighted this because this is at a state level. So we've got the national initiatives as well as state ones, and the Good Friday Appeal raises money for the Royal Children's Hospital, and so most of the volunteering around that is out there rattling tins and collecting money at different junctions and things like that. That's just one example of how you can get involved in collecting money for organisations. If you think back to the recent bushfires and things like that, we've had droughts and things. When natural disasters like that happen, organisations collect things like blankets, non-perishable foods, clothing, toiletries, and that sort of thing. So there are those kind of one-off activities as well that kind of crop up from time to time, as well as the annual events like the Good Friday Appeal there for the Royal Children's Hospital. So if you've got a bit more time to dedicate to volunteering, and you're looking for something where you can actually see the impact that you're having over a longer period of time, there's also ongoing activities that you can get involved in which might support your community. So that might be, for example, like we've got on the image here, being a companion and visiting elderly people in their homes, doing some in-home support, whether that's just sit and read in the paper to a community member, or helping them out around the house. Some local organisations that might run out of the local councils deliver Meals on Wheels and things like that. So there's a number of sort of ongoing opportunities that you can get involved in that community care, whether it's with people who are elderly or people with disabilities, for example. Local hospitals and care homes also are a great place to go looking for opportunities to volunteer and have quite intensive volunteer programs. So you might be hanging out with kids in the children's ward. You might be, again, reading the paper or something like that to an adult in a palliative care ward and things like that. So there's that sort of a lot of opportunities in that health and well-being area. For people who are animal lovers, there's also a whole heap of opportunities that you can get involved in to support the welfare of animals. So that might be volunteering for the RSPCA and helping out in one of their animal shelters, supporting animals that might have been injured or been lost and need to be returned to their owners. It might be wild animals that have been hit by a car, for example, or wild animals that have strayed into urban areas and need relocating back out to the bush and things like that. So there's a whole different a gamut of opportunities that you can get involved in. Get involved in to support animal welfare as well. Obviously there are things that you need to get out and about and meet people and get out and about in the community, and you might find that if you're in an area where lockdown's been imposed and things like that, you still might want to get involved in volunteering from the comfort of your own home if you're not able to go out and about. And we have seen an increase in virtual volunteering over the past year and a bit, but these kind of opportunities have been around, but we're seeing an increase in the breadth and depth of the volunteering opportunities that are available virtually. And this was an image taken from the Penguin Watch website, if anybody's interested in helping researchers with penguins. You can volunteer your time and they'll send you images from various locations in and around the Arctic and Antarctic, Arctic, and you can help researchers track populations of animals through images and satellite pictures and things like that. So if penguins don't float your boat, there's things like listening to bird calls and identifying bird calls to try and track population growth of birds in specific areas. There's snapshots of insects where you're asked to identify insects and things like that, just to help with research and monitoring population. Other things that you can do from the comfort of your own home are things like sewing. There are a number of organisations looking for people to sew various different items or knit blankets for the homeless and things like that. So there's a whole heap of things that you can do from the comfort of your own home. And just to highlight, if there's any students or staff from CQUniversity joining the session today, we do have a vacancy that came in this week on our Career Hub system, and that is for volunteers to help with research around unmarked and unmapped roads, and so you'll be given an area of Australia to look at through Google Earth, and they'd like you to try and map and track the unmarked road, possibly a dirt road, to help track where some of these unmarked roads are starting to be worn in by people with four-wheel drives and things like that. So please do I guess be aware that you don't have to be out and about meeting people to volunteer. You can do it from home and have quite a positive impact on different research projects and communities. So some of the other things that you can get involved in, just to give you some ideas of where you might start looking at your volunteering opportunities. There's things like homework clubs, and they can be run out of local libraries, through local councils, or maybe even a school or a welfare organisation. If you're a member of a profession, then often local chapters might need volunteers to help run the local chapter of a professional organisation. That's a great place to start networking and meeting other people from your profession. So have a look at where your local branch is for a particular organisation and get involved there. Sporting clubs, you know, if you've got kids or nephews and nieces, they're probably out playing basketball or AFL or something like that. They might need scorers and people to help run the teams around and things like that. Obviously, there's a whole heap of different opportunities within community welfare around homelessness, people with disadvantage, disabilities, elderly, those kinds of things. Remember, there are often volunteering opportunities within the CQ Uni campuses as well, so that might be helping out with an event, it might be a club or society that you might want to get involved in, netball clubs, all that sort of thing. So just be aware, if you're part of the CQ Uni community, there's often volunteering opportunities within the university as well. So I would like to introduce Cindy now, and I will just stop my share. Cindy is a recent graduate from CQUniversity, and look, I was first introduced to Cindy not long after I started here, and she came to me and she was like, right, I'm doing this, help. But I will hand over to Cindy so she can share her story with you, and talk to you about her volunteering journey and how that's helped her career. So Cindy, I'll start off. If you can tell the audience a bit about yourself, your study, and what your volunteer role was, and we can take it from there.
Yes, so it's nice to see you again, Deb. Hello, everyone. So congratulations for taking your time to be a part of this Zoom session. And first of all, so I'm Cindy Wisco. So originally, I came from the Philippines, and I studied financial and management accounting back home, and I work as a customer service representative in a local bank, and used to be a team leader in a logistics company back home as well. But oh, sorry, I didn't notice that I have my camera off. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
That's fine, just keep going.
So, whilst studying here in Australia, I managed to secure a job in a manufacturing company as assembly line, to support my daily needs here. And then I also work as an enrollment assistant at Central Queensland University. And those roles, I have successfully acquired those through networks, not by uh, submitting my CV in Seek, for example, or Indeed, because those kind of platforms have their algorithms, they say. So if you are not like good with doing a resume writing, in which our career advisors are there, so you can maximize the opportunities. But in my case back then, so I don't know much of these resources are. So what I did was to find other ways if I cannot beat the Seek, for example, the algorithms or whatever programs they do have in there, or the applicant tracking system, as what they say. So I maximize what I can do, such as like doing networking through volunteering opportunities. And yeah, so too much talking. Yeah, but then I studied the Master of Professional Accounting at CQUni, and I finished my degree last year of July 2020. And when it comes to volunteering experiences, I do have, or I volunteered at CPA Australia. So anyone who are studying accounting, so CPA Australia is one of the assessing bodies of our profession, and they are a reputable organization. And also, I volunteered as a student mentor of CQU. So with those volunteering opportunities, so it depends on the event or the hours that you can do to volunteer. So it's not that it's a mandatory that you should do this to this hour. So it depends on the volunteering opportunities. When it comes to CPA Australia, so they allowed us to attend to events. Sometimes the event took 1 hour max, or 1.5 up to 2 hours. So depending on your availability. For student mentoring, same goes on that as well. And yeah, if you have any questions anyway, feel free to unmute yourself, and then you can ask any questions, as long as I know the answer, hopefully. Yeah.
Cindy, what I might do is get the audience to let me know if you've got a question. Maybe let me know through the chat, and I can unmute you. So just while you're thinking about if there's any questions that you have for Cindy, I might just ask you, Cindy. Obviously, you were the CPA ambassador on the Melbourne campus. So, what attracted you to that particular position, and how do you think? And well, I guess what advantages did you get, do you think, for your career having that opportunity?
Yeah, so since I studied Master of Professional Accounting, I'm looking for like an organization that will help me to develop more of my communication skills. So I come to know about the CPA Australia Ambassador through the teachers, and at the same time through the emails that are being sent by, like for example, our vice chancellors or um, the other teachers. So they are updating us through email. So what I can advise is like uh, it's 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 a good habit to check your emails because the opportunities are getting in there. It's not just a spam or random emails that are being sent to us. There's something in there that we need to read and we can like benefit from it. So I'm interested in joining the CPA Australia Ambassador because I want to develop more of my communication skills and at the same time to gain the confidence. How am I going to interact and communicate to higher people? Because in there, in CPA Australia, those are like all of them are accountants and at the same time owners of a big prestigious companies. So when I joined the CPA Australia ambassador program, I come to experience how to interact with the higher management, how I became more confident on the way that I speak, and I learned how to network with the other people. For example, in a CPA Congress, so that's one of the biggest event for all CPAs, and in there, so I've assisted in welcoming all the participants who are gonna do their oath taking because they are recognized as CPAs here in Australia. So you've come to learn their stories and at the same time how they reach the position that they are into right now. So, and what's the other question? Sorry, I think I'm not so sure if I covered every question that you have.
No, you did, because I asked you about what attracted you to it and what benefits. So it sounds very much like you were given opportunities to network with professional people and build that personal brand that you had. There was a question from the audience. Vicky, if you'd like to unmute and pose your question.
Hi, Cindy. Thank you very much for your presentation today.
Hi, Vicky.
I have a question about how did you find articulating your skills on your resume and cover letter? So you've obviously done a fair bit of volunteering and so forth. Did you find it easy to think about how all of that would have applied to a future job, or did you need help with that?
With that one, with articulating those skills that I learned from volunteering at first, like I don't know how to maximize those skills. So that's why our career advisors is there, like them. So maybe what I've learned so far is like being not afraid to reach out for the help that I need. So I came to Deb, submitted my resume with her, and she did like random checking of that. And at the same time, I maximized the resources of the CQUni website, wherein you can just upload your resume in there, and then they're gonna check it. But when it comes to the potential interviews, like there's this one opportunity wherein I don't need to submit my resume via online because I am one of the CPA Australia ambassador. So it is through my business development manager that this opportunity will be sent for CPA Australia ambassadors first. It is about an administration assistant role. So I got the chance to be interviewed because of that volunteering opportunity. However, the thing is they are requiring full-time working hours for me because I am a student back then. So I am unable to commit the whole hours that they required. But at least what I see in there is, because of volunteering opportunities, you're one step ahead from the other applicants, because they are the ones, like those development managers will gonna think of those who are doing volunteering instead of like putting it in a platform like Seek. And other thing is, the successful thing about volunteering for me is that I learned, I got the opportunity to work as an enrollment assistant. It is it is like through communication with the librarian at CQUni, like telling me, engaging with her, because like I gained a little bit of confidence, I think, with those volunteering opportunities. And then, like, even though I didn't ask for work, the librarian told me that, oh, there's an opportunity here at the university for an enrollment assistant. Would you like me to send your name directly to the hiring manager? So, so I got the opportunity to work as an enrollment assistant through the librarian that I just used to say hi um, back then, like last year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think the whole just reaching out and connecting with people can really open up a lot of doors.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cindy, can you tell us about some of you've already spoken about how it helped your public speaking skills, how your involvement with CPA increased your confidence so that you could connect and start networking with people that then led to other opportunities. Was there any other skills that you feel that you really benefited from through your experiences as that CPA ambassador?
Yeah, so most likely, as I've kept on mentioning, like it's more of the communication skills, and at the same time the leadership and teamwork. Coming from from another country, so we don't have much information with regards on how the Australian community like works and communicate with each other. So when I come to do volunteering, I came to understand how Australians interact with each other, and at the same time how it helped me to develop like more of my leadership skills, being not afraid to talk, and at the same time like reaching out with others for more opportunities. And since CPA Australia is more of the accounting profession, I also learned how to like the information with regards on having my skills assessment in the future. So those can't be learned without the help of these uh, people who are already in the CPA Australia. Yeah.
And if you could go back in time and give yourself some advice as a final question about the volunteering and about how you applied yourself, would you do anything different? What advice would you give yourself?
Yes, I would still do something different, because I just came to know about volunteering opportunities when I am the end of the term, like for the first term, like I came July 2018, and then I just came to learn about this one like September. So if I should have known earlier, like starting from the from day one that I stepped into CQU, then I should like start networking myself, because there are heaps, not just CPA Australia. There are other volunteering opportunities. It's just that we need to manage our time. Actually, that's one of the skill, time management, because juggling from work and then volunteering, and then studying. So that's really challenging for us as students. But if you can still volunteer, that would, like, you can repeat in the future actually. So I think like the greatest advice that I could or I mean that or the thing that I would do differently is from day one, start communicate or start speaking even when you are afraid, because um, through practicing, that makes everything better actually. So if there's someone who's sitting beside you, maybe back then, not now, you, because you know we are in a pandemic, it's a social distancing 1.5 meters. So someone sitting beside you, you don't know who they are, but in trying to communicate with them, you don't know, they might be a manager of a company. You don't know whom you are sitting with can give you an opportunity in the future. That's what I think. I believe actually.
That's brilliant. Just before we move on, does anybody else in the audience have any questions for Cindy? If you do, please indicate by either unmuting yourself or just give me a hoy in the chat.
I have one more question, Cindy.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much again for sharing with us your insight. I think it's really important. You know, it's been a while since I was trying to find those first jobs. So I'm really interested from that, you know, from being an early graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you kind of look back on and think, I wish I did more, or I wish I took up some more opportunity? It sounds like you were pretty active, but I just wonder if there's something that you think that, gee, I really regret not doing that one thing.
Yeah, I wish I could have joined the social innovation.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Because like the time that I want to join there, I am no longer qualified. Like I've sent an email because you know, I've seen there's this Think Big program or something, and I really wanted to join because you know I realized now that what's going on around me.
Mm.
So it's something that I want to make an impact to to other people. So actually, with what's happening around, so I do encourage our my fellow students, like, to be flexible of what's happening, to be open, especially now. Our mental health is important. um, so when I think if I had joined the social innovation of CQU, so I could be like um, more. I do have like more understanding of how to help other people in my own little ways. So yeah, I think that's
Yeah, that's a great response. I must admit, the when I kind of went through university, social innovation wasn't really a big focus area back in that time. And it's only now that I can kind of see how much of an impact we can have, like as you say, just with ourselves, but also if we get a group of friends together and work on a project. So yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Thanks for your question, Victoria.
Okay, thank you, Cindy, for your time. And look, if if you're able to stay around and people do have any questions, if there's time at the end, and we will open back up for questions. But we'll continue with the presentation. So thank you for your time. So look, if having listened to Cindy's story, and I think, you know, I can sit here and talk to you forever about the benefits of volunteering, but I think when you actually listen to someone and hear their story, you can actually see some of these benefits in action. And that was really why I thought it was important today to have Cindy talk. Volunteering gets you out and about and meeting new people. And as Cindy said, you never know who that person might be. It gives you the opportunity to build your skills, to have that feel good positivity about giving back to the community, and that positivity that it brings into your life, and that feeling of well-being that you've had a positive impact on some of the part of the world. I think at a very practical level, you start building up your reputation so that you can then rely on people for references and referrals on to other opportunities like that we've heard from Cindy. And having met Cindy not long after she started her CPA ambassadorship, and she was like going around, who should I talk to on campus? She was brilliant at networking, and that's how she built up her personal brand and personal reputation on the campus, so that when there was a call out, and does anybody know any good students on campus, we need someone to do a couple of days work for us, Cindy comes to mind, because she's been doing that networking and raising her profile, and almost being her own referee at the same time. As we've heard from Cindy, and look, she was not prompted on any of this. She's just said it all. It increases your confidence, builds your feeling of belonging, and also gives you that opportunity to share your skills with others, which in turn helps your confidence. Who knows where it might lead? It might lead to paid employment. And for many of us, as we move through our careers, it can actually help and complement paid employment, particularly if you think about those professional association memberships or local community groups. It can aid your own career progression as well. So just to kind of sum up, I guess, what Cindy's saying, try something new, challenge yourself, try and get out of your comfort zone. I think with anything in life, you do get out of things what you do put in. I know, for example, some of you guys in the room might be members of Golden Key or heard of it, and it's one of those honour societies that you can become a member of, and you just pay and you remember and you put it on your resume. If you actually get involved and start to getting active and start being involved in some of the activities, or it gives you that opportunity to start receiving something back. But you've got to put in, you've got to invest to receive, and I think that's very important. And I think this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt really does kind of sum up for a lot of people, volunteering, breaking into a new area, moving into an area of society where you might not know anyone, into organisations and things like that. So get out there and do something that scares you every day, because you never know where those opportunities might come from if you start breaking down some of those barriers. So how can it help your employability? And this is a screenshot from a recent report that's come from employers around when they're looking at applicants for roles, what they're looking at, what are they evaluating. And if you can see there that sort of passion, commitment, attitude, drive, I think there's nothing that shows passion for something like doing something for free. So just bear in mind that volunteering, particularly if you can find something that sits with your personal values, sits with your personal goals or career goals, it can open heaps of doors, but also really showcase to other people something that you're really interested in and committed to. One thing I guess to be aware of with volunteering is that we do hear, unfortunately, some terrible stories about people being taken advantage of in this volunteering space. So there are some things that you need to be aware of just from your own safety, and the Fair Work Act covers a lot of that. Volunteering is really about giving your time or your skills to help other people. It's not the same as an employment relationship. So whilst you might be committed to be turning up at a certain time to do a certain task, there's no expectation that it's paid for, but also if for whatever reason you can't go, there should be no punishment for that. You do need to make sure that if you're going to be involved in volunteering, that there's some kind of OH&S induction. You can be interviewed, but in response to that, then you need to also be covered by insurance as well. So if you suddenly asked to be providing your own insurance and an ABN, be careful about that. It's perhaps not a formal volunteering and an above board volunteering opportunity. If you do find that you have out-of-pocket expenses, then within the Fair Work Act, you can ask for those refunds back. And really, it's make sure that the organisation is a genuine volunteering organisation. So there might be a registered charity, they might have volunteering policy and procedure that enables that that interaction between yourself as a volunteer and them as an organisation that's benefiting from your time or skills, that there's a policy around that, and you shouldn't at any point be asked to volunteer in a role where somebody else is getting paid for it. So just be very careful about that. Just again, in regards to that Fair Work Act stuff, you need to have an orientation, be inducted, go through the OH&S stuff. You need to be provided with sufficient training and instruction and supervision, as you would in a workplace, to avoid any accidents. Just to cover yourself if something does happen whilst you're involved in the volunteering. Yep. So some things that you might want to check out when you're doing your research and trying to work out what you're going to get involved in. Obviously, is it an organisation that might be a charity or a not-for-profit? Have a look at whether their values and beliefs match your own. You're more likely to be motivated to keep going with your volunteering if there's a value match. It's a bit like when you're looking for work. Make sure that they have the insurance to cover you whilst you are volunteering on the premises, and make sure that you know what your role is, where the boundaries of that role are, and things like that. As a volunteer, there's expectations on you as well, mostly around behaviour expectations around being ethical and accountable, that you carry out the duties that you're required to and don't sort of overstep that, attend the training when it's offered, and are supervised and have support there that you need, whether that's from somebody who's supervising you or other team members. And of course, with the OH&S side of things, you obviously report hazards, make hazards safe, and that sort of thing. So it's just normal common sense stuff in that regards. So how do you decide what you're going to get involved in when there's so many things out there? So I would really encourage you to think about what your passion is. Have a think about how many hours you can commit, and if there's any skills or motivation for skill development or knowledge gaps that you would like to learn, and is this an opportunity where you can fill those skills gaps? Are the specific dates and times that you can volunteer, how often, and also what's the cost to you? Is it just your time, or is it going to cost you money to get there, or that sort of thing? The more you can kind of link in with people that share your passions, you create that networking, that mateship, you are more likely to commit. So, and it's very similar to where you might get your job satisfaction from. So if you're finding that in your work, there's an area where you're not quite getting satisfied, maybe volunteering is something that you can do to support that in your own time and get that kind of work-life balance a little bit. People are motivated to volunteer depending on where their values sit. So it might be around that skill development and that need for networking. It might be around wanting to support other humans, whether they're less fortunate than themselves, fundraising for research, that sort of thing. You might be interested in flora and fauna and looking after animals, plants, revegetation, those kind of things, or looking after the environment. So that might be looking for pollution, taking water samples for research, conservation, community gardens, those kinds of things. If you're thinking about doing volunteering that are skills-based, then I've just got a slide up there that lists the key employability skills. And if you are a CQUniversity student, we do have an employability scan in the careers toolkit, and that's a self-assessment tool that will step you through a number of questions asking you to rate your confidence in certain areas. And once you've completed the self-assessment, it gives you a report of areas where you might need to spend a bit more time developing skills, and it is based around these the employability skills. And so if you're thinking about looking for volunteering to help fill a skills gap that you're not sure whether it exists or not, that employability scan can help you identify those, and then you can head off and find those volunteering opportunities that might, like in Cindy's case, help build her confidence, build her public speaking skills and her time management skills as well. So I would encourage you to spend some time looking at that if you can. Just some organisations to get you going on where you might start. So if you're interested in that sort of charitable organisations, human-based things, then we have things like Amnesty International, Vision Australia, and within that there's your CNI dogs and things like that as well. There's the Australian Indigenous Mentoring Experience if you're interested in supporting Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander peoples. Have a look on your local council websites for community groups. There'll be things like the Lions Club, Rotary, and things like that you can get involved in. As Cindy mentioned, there's things like the Office of Social Innovation in CQUniversity that partners with charitable organisations and social impact organisations where you can spend your time. And then there's even, I've put Engineers Without Borders there as an example, some of the professional associations and registration bodies for specific professions like engineers have a volunteering arm of their organisation. So Engineers Without Borders brings engineers together to work on projects, and you might be redesigning some buildings. I know one project was that went out to Nepal after the earthquake over there a few years ago, and a few engineers from Australia went out from different backgrounds and just help rebuild some different things and use their expertise as structural engineers and civil engineers and mechanical engineers to help rebuild some of the infrastructure over in Nepal after the earthquake. So there's a whole heap of things that you can look into that are profession based as well. Some of the key charitable organisations for animals are things like the RSPCA, Riding for the Disabled, and things like that. And within your own state, there'll be the parks, Victoria Parks, Queensland, where there might be opportunities to get involved in revegetation or monitoring populations of animals or insects and things like that. If you've got some green thumbs and you want to get out and about, then there's organisations like Conservation Volunteers Australia, again, the parks organisations across the different states, and Landcare, for example. In regards to where to go to find out some more information, we've got the Volunteering Australia website. There's sort of the peak body for Australian volunteering, but there's also state-based organisations as well. So obviously, if you're in Queensland, head to the Queensland website, etc. Just a screenshot there. Some of the general volunteering websites, Seek now has a volunteer area on their website. There's Volley, the Office of Social Innovation. Next week is actually National Student Volunteer Week, and I'm always an advocate for this because you don't have to be a student to volunteer during National Student Volunteer Week. Like me, I'm a University of Life student, and so quite happy to volunteer in and around the place during National Student Volunteer Week. So jump onto their website because there will be a lot of short-term projects and things like that you can get involved in during the week that might be a taster for something down the track. So I just want to go back to this skills-based slide before we finish up today, just to see if anybody in the audience has been volunteering, and if you'd like to share with us a bit of information about what you've been doing so that we can actually then break that down as a group and have a conversation about the types of skills that you have built up during that time that you've been volunteering. So has anybody been volunteering in the audience that would like to explore what skills that you've been developing during that time? Please either indicate by unmuting yourself or pop your name in the chat, and I'll invite you to unmute yourself. No, that's fine. I have one I prepared. I was going to say I've got one I prepared earlier, but Vicky, if you're happy to unmute, please go ahead and give us an example.
Thank you. I just feel like I'm talking too much. So to all the other people out there, I spend a little bit of time in a respite care centre for a family member, and I was actually talking to the team who I work with about, the different things we could do as we get closer to Christmas to kind of help out those people who might be in respite or palliative care. So we were kind of looking at doing that as a group, and I just wonder if you have any advice on how we could apply that.
Yep. So look, I guess it depends on how involved you're going to get. And I think obviously the more you put in, the more you get out. So if as a group you're going to come together and organise either a fundraising or a let's buy gifts for the people in palliative care and things like that. So the more involved you get, the more skills you develop. So if you think about say initiative and enterprise, and you guys are going to come up with your own idea and pitch it back to the people that are involved in that particular care home, then you're starting to use your initiative, you're starting to use your enterprise ideas, because you're going to have to come together as a team and formulate that idea as through that conversation. So you're communicating, you're also building a team, and you might find that your team, I know you're one of the team leaders, so you might find that your conversations actually form a different team with a different team leader, and different dynamics to what you might normally have in the normal work environment. So there's that teamwork shift and change of roles, and the communication. Then if you then take that idea and go, right, let's raise some money so we can buy gifts for the people, just as an example, you then got to work out, well, how do we raise money? How do people donate and be able to claim their tax back? How do we promote this? Is it through technology? What technology do we use? So you can see the more involved you get, the more breadth of skills that you develop. And then it's really just a case of how you articulate that after it's finished. And when you think about your individual roles, just give me a sec. when you think about your individual roles, what did you do? Were you involved in the planning and organising, and did you problem solve? And it's kind of then that reflective piece back to then go, wow, you know, just by that quick example, I've probably touched on all of them in some way. Plus you're doing some self-management, self-reflection by actually looking at what you did and translating that into you know, something that might go on your resume, something that you might talk about as an interview, as a, you know, give us an example of a time when you've gone above and beyond what was expected of you. And that's the kind of thing that you can start then articulating through those experiences and scenarios. Do you think that's...
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of curious about how would you go about validating that experience? Because sometimes I think as well, we do these things and really don't think or give ourselves enough credit. You know, you do these things and you then go do your resume and you might forget about those opportunities. But I guess if you were to record it, how can you go about having that validated, I suppose? Because I think if you have a job, you have a boss, and that can kind of be shown on LinkedIn, for example, or with a contact point. But yeah, if you're doing these types of activities, how can that be validated?
Yeah, really good question. And look, I think as you were talking there, what sprang to mind was a few years ago, I was doing a resume review for a psychology student, and she'd been volunteering for Lifeline, and on her resume it was one line, 2018 to 2020 ongoing Lifeline volunteer. And I was like, what are you doing? There's so much more to that. And it was through the conversation that we had and trying to, okay, this is your resume, you're trying to match it to a particular job. How do we articulate it in a way that's going to mean something and showcase those transferable skills that are relevant for that particular job in the future that you're trying to get to? So look, it does get a bit tricky when you're volunteering and doing things off your own back if you're not doing it for an organisation. In regards to that, how do you get things validated? There's nothing stopping a colleague in your volunteering organisation endorsing you for skills in LinkedIn. Yes, it's not in that work environment, but they can still endorse you as a colleague for that particular skill in LinkedIn. Look, who knows if down the track, I mean, there's talk about the blockchain ledger and how people might articulate skills in that blockchain and have a just-in-time record of your involvement in a particular activity that somebody else comes in and endorses. Somebody else could come in and endorse it and lock it away. And then it becomes a record there of a skill and activity that you've done. But I don't know that we're there yet. I think there's a lot of worry about starting to use things like blockchain for skill articulation and development, but who knows if that it's kind of that next step, that next further thing than an endorsement on LinkedIn. But you know, if you're struggling for references and you don't want to go to your boss, is there a colleague or somebody else that you've been volunteering with who you could vouch for, who's seen you develop these skills and things like that as well? Does that help?
Yes, thank you. I think I was just trying to find the unmute button. I guess something that I thought about when you were talking just then, you know, is kind of asking for people to endorse you. It's kind of, do you have any tips for people who might feel a bit shy about asking for endorsements? Because, you know, sometimes you do this volunteering work thinking I'm just doing it out of the goodness of my heart, but then, oh, can you write me a letter or can you endorse it? Does it might take I don't know, it might seem like you're doing it for other reasons. Is there any tips on how to professionally ask for someone to support you without it kind of coming across as you're only doing it to get a better job, maybe?
Yeah, look, I think look, who knows how the person's going to interpret it when you ask, and that you can't control. All you can do is really control how you ask. And as long as you go in there and say, you know, respectfully, if they want to say no, they can, but just being honest and saying, look, I really feel like I've develop this skill, or this is a really good example of me showcasing this particular skill. Would you have the time to endorse it for me? If they do, brilliant. If they don't, they don't. You just kind of, you don't then pester and annoy and things like that. I think with LinkedIn in particular, it's very reciprocal. So you might find if somebody if you endorse somebody for a particular skill that you're confident that they have, and that's the thing, people can go around just liking things for the sake of it. If it's a purposeful endorsement and you feel like, yes, I'm happy to endorse this person for this skill, then you'll probably find that they'll reciprocate with something that they see a strength in you as well.
Thank you. I guess that's just one thing, isn't it? Just that if you haven't had to ask for that before, it's a little bit unnerving.
Yeah, it can be, and that's where, you know, linking in with the career service, if you're a CQUniversity student, is we can help you with that kind of stuff. And yeah, just don't be annoying, because if they haven't got time or they're not prepared to do it, don't pester. Move on. Maybe reach out in 3 months and take them for a coffee.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Thanks so much.
No problems. Look, really conscious of time here. Thanks for the example. I did have a backup there to talk about the Clean Up Australia Day if somebody didn't have an example. But so thanks, Vicky, for sharing that. For CQUniversity students, I do want to just point out some information that you might want to refer back to after today's session. In the Career Hub system, we've got information sheets about volunteering, and we've got some resources that can help you build your resume, as well as a resume applicant tracking system simulator. They list volunteer opportunities. There's also some volunteer opportunities in our Going Global website as well. The Employability Scan, which is that self-assessment tool to enable you to have a look at your employability skills, and then generate the report to help you work out where you might need some skill gap filling, is available through the Careers Toolkit. So if you head into Career Hub, on that front landing page, there's a link there that says Careers Toolkit. Head there. I also want to highlight we're in August. August is Fast Mentoring Month for CQUniversity, which and Careers Connection is our platform for mentoring. And so we have over 350 mentors who are registered on that platform, who are ready to offer their time to current and graduated students. And they might, might have a 30-minute conversation around your career transition out into graduate employment. They might look at your resume for you, and that sort of thing. So it can be alumni to alumni, alumni to current student, industry representatives to current students. So if you are interested in receiving some mentoring, or if you have time and some skills to share as a mentor, then the Career Connection website is also available from our Career Hub homepage. So please remember that. Also, National Student Volunteer Week next week. Make sure that you do engage with the Office of Social Innovation Events. Thank you to them for letting us host today. And please do feel free to have a look at some of their other recordings from their sessions over the last fortnight. They've had some amazing sessions. Make sure you find your passion and take action. Thank you so much for your time today, for joining. If anyone has any questions, I'm really happy to stay online, but if you do need to go, I do appreciate we've gone over the hour. So I will stop recording there, and thank you once again, and thanks Cindy heaps for your time volunteering again to come back and share your experiences with others. So thank you.